Wealthy woman caught crying at her maid's mother's grave. Their secret will shock you. Catherine Montgomery was on her knees before the simple grave, her tears falling on the black silk dress that had cost more than Darlene made in 6 months. New York City's most feared businesswoman was crying like a lost child, clutching a yellowed letter between trembling fingers. Darlene Williams watched from a distance, still wearing the maid's uniform she had worn for 20 years in the Montgomery mansion. She couldn't understand why her employer was there, at Green Meadows Cemetery, crying over the grave of her mother, Gloria Williams, who had passed just 3 days ago. "Ms. Catherine." Darlene approached slowly, her voice barely a whisper. The businesswoman looked up with red, swollen eyes. For the first time in 2 decades, Darlene saw vulnerability in that always proud face. "Darlene, Catherine tried to compose herself, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "I came how to pay my respects. You didn't even really know my mother," Darlene replied with a mix of confusion and hurt. "When she came to visit me at your house, you always made her stay in the kitchen." Catherine bowed her head, clutching the letter even tighter against her chest. The silence between them was as thick as the morning fog covering the surrounding headstones. "Your mother," Catherine began, but stopped abruptly. "Darlene, there are things you don't know." "What things?" Darlene moved closer, noticing her employer was trembling. "Why are you here? Why are you crying like this?" Catherine rose slowly, trying to regain her usual composure, but her legs gave way, and she had to lean on the simple marble headstone engraved with "Gloria Williams, loving mother." "Your mother gave me this letter 5 years ago," Catherine murmured, showing the yellowed paper. "I never opened it." Darlene's eyes widened. 5 years? My mother never told me she spoke to you. She came to me after you had pneumonia, remember? When you were hospitalized for 2 weeks, Darlene remembered. It had been a terrible time. With no private health insurance, she had relied on the public hospital. But mysteriously, she was transferred to a private room at Mercy Medical Center. She always thought it was an administrative error nobody had corrected. "Was it you who paid for my treatment?" Catherine looked away. "Your mother begged me. She said I owed it to her." "Owed? Why?" Catherine folded the letter carefully and put it in her purse. "Darlene, I need to tell you some things, but not here. Not like this." "No, Miss Catherine, you will tell me now." Darlene planted her feet on the ground, a determination she had never shown before her employer. "My mother is gone without explaining so many things to me, but you are here crying at her grave as if she were my mother too." Catherine finished the sentence, her voice broken. Darlene felt the world spin. "What are you saying?" Catherine looked around, checking if they were alone. The cemetery was practically empty on that Tuesday morning, only the caretaker, too far away to hear anything. "Darlene, your mother wasn't just your mother. She was also—" Catherine took a deep breath. "She was my birth mother." "That's impossible," Darlene stammered, feeling her legs weaken. "You were raised by the Montgomerys. Everyone knows that." "Raised, yes, but not born." Catherine moved closer to Darlene, her hands outstretched as if to support her. "Darlene, we are sisters. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing." Darlene recoiled as if she'd been slapped. "You're lying. This can't be true." "The letter, Darlene. It's all explained in the letter." Catherine tried to take the paper from her purse again, but Darlene stopped her. "No, I don't want to hear this. My mother never— She would have told me—" "She couldn't tell. She signed an agreement," Catherine said, her voice now firmer. "The Montgomerys paid a lot of money, so she would never reveal the truth." Darlene felt a mix of anger and confusion taking over her. "What agreement? What are you talking about?" Catherine looked at Gloria's grave, as if asking permission from the deceased. "Darlene, when I was 2 years old, my biological parents, your father and our mother, went through terrible financial difficulties. Gloria worked as a cleaner for the Montgomerys, and they couldn't have children. This is crazy. The Montgomerys offered a sum to adopt one of Gloria's daughters. Catherine continued, ignoring the interruption. They chose me because I was lighter, more like them. Darlene felt a deep pain in her chest. And why didn't she tell me? Why did she hide this her whole life? Because the agreement included a clause. If she told anyone, including you, she would lose the right to the pension the Montgomerys paid monthly, and more importantly, they threatened to harm you. Harm me how? Catherine hesitated before answering. Ensure you never got a decent job, that you never had access to private hospitals, that your children, if you had any, never managed to study in good schools. Darlene sat on the ground, among the graves, trying to process all of that. That's why she always insisted I work at the Montgomerys' house. She wanted to be near me. It was the only way she found to see me grow up. Catherine knelt beside Darlene. And that's why I was always so distant with you. I couldn't show affection. The Montgomerys watched every move. But did you know? Did you know I was your sister? Catherine shook her head. Not completely. I had suspicions, vague memories, strange dreams, But the Montgomerys convinced me it was imagination. They even took me to psychologists to erase any memory of my previous life. Darlene looked at her mother's headstone. And when did you find out the truth? 5 years ago, when Gloria came to me at the office. She was desperate because you were sick and said she couldn't hide the truth anymore. That's when she gave me the letter. Why did you never open it? Catherine closed her eyes. Because I was afraid. Afraid it was true, afraid it was a lie, afraid to discover that my whole life was built on a lie. Darlene was silent for a few minutes, watching the wilted flowers on her mother's grave. She always bought 2 cakes on my birthday. I asked why, and she said it was to make sure there was enough, but now you understand that one was for you and another for me. Catherine finished, her tears starting to flow again. Do you remember anything? From when we were little? Catherine thought for a moment. I remember a song, a lullaby about 2 little stars in the sky. For years I thought it was just a dream. Darlene's eyes widened. 2 little stars that never got lost, even when the clouds came. You know that song? My mother sang it to me every night. She said she learned it from her mother, my grandmother. They looked at each other, and for the first time in 20 years, Catherine saw Darlene not as an employee, but as the sister she had lost. Darlene, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all these years, for treating you like a stranger. Darlene wiped her own tears. You were a victim too, Miss Catherine. Both of us were. But I could have been different. Even without knowing the full truth, I could have been more human. Darlene stood up and extended her hand to Catherine. Let's open the letter, together. Catherine took her sister's hand and stood up. With trembling fingers, she took the letter from her purse. The paper was yellowed with time, and Gloria's handwriting was recognizable on the front. To my 2 daughters. Catherine opened the envelope carefully. Inside were 3 handwritten pages and something else. 2 very simple gold chains, each with half of a broken heart. My daughter Catherine and my daughter Darlene, Catherine began reading aloud. If you're reading this letter together, it's because I can finally tell the truth I've carried for so many years. Catherine's voice faltered, and Darlene took the letter to continue. Darlene, my dear, you always knew you had a sister, but never knew where she was. Catherine, my love, you always felt something was missing in your life, but never knew what. Today I tell you, you are twin sisters. The 2 women looked at each other, shocked by the revelation. Twins, Darlene whispered. Catherine continued reading. You were born on a rainy day at County General Hospital. You looked so alike that I had to check the hospital bracelet to tell you apart. But life wasn't kind to us. Your father, my daughters, abandoned us when you were just 6 months old. Darlene felt a lump in her throat. She had never known her father, and her mother always said he had traveled far away. I worked as a housekeeper to survive, and you stayed with our neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins. But the money was never enough. You went hungry, and I couldn't afford medicine when you got sick. That's when Mrs. Montgomery made me the offer. Catherine stopped reading, tears making the words blurry. "Go on," Darlene asked gently. "She offered a very large sum to adopt one of you. Said she would provide education, healthcare, a future. How could I refuse that? But choosing between you two—" Catherine paused, her voice choked. "It was the hardest decision of my life." Darlene put her hand on her sister's shoulder. "Why her? Why did they choose Catherine?" Catherine continued reading. "They chose Catherine because she was a bit lighter-skinned, more like them. They said it would be easier for her to fit in. I accepted because I thought at least one of you would have the life I couldn't provide." The room fell silent for a moment. Catherine took a deep breath before continuing. "But the agreement came with cruel conditions. I couldn't tell anyone about the adoption. I couldn't visit Catherine. And even more terrible, if I ever told the truth, they promised to destroy Darlene's life. I couldn't risk it." Darlene felt anger growing inside her. They used us as hostages against each other. All these years, my only way to watch Catherine grow up was by working as a cleaner in the family's home. I cleaned her room, washed her clothes, prepared her food, always from a distance, always in silence. Catherine covered her face with her hands. "Gloria was always there at every important moment of my life. Graduation, first job, when I started my company, she was always there, cleaning, organizing, caring. And when Darlene grew up and needed work, I begged the family to hire her. That way at least my two daughters would be in the same place, even if they didn't know the truth." Darlene remembered the day she was hired. Gloria had insisted so much that she take the job, even with the low salary the Montgomerys initially offered. "Dear daughters, you've worked side by side for 20 years without knowing your sisters." How many times my heart ached seeing Catherine treat Darlene coldly, and Darlene feeling diminished. But it wasn't your fault. The fault was mine, for accepting an agreement that separated two sisters who were born to be together. Catherine picked up one of the chains from the letter. It was delicate, with half of a golden heart. Darlene picked up the other, and the two halves fit together perfectly. "These chains belonged to my mother, your grandmother. When you were born, she broke her heart in two and made 2 necklaces, saying that one day you would discover you were 2 parts of a whole. The sisters put the necklaces around their necks. Even after so many years, the pieces fit together as if they had never been separated. If you're reading this together, it's because I'm already gone. But I want you to know that every day of my life was dedicated to you two. Every sacrifice, every tear, every moment of pain was worth it, because you're well." Darlene could no longer hold back her tears. "She suffered so much, and we didn't even know. Catherine, my daughter, you became a strong and successful woman. I was always proud of you, even if I couldn't show it. Darlene, my dear, you're kind and hard-working like your grandfather. You two have the best of me and what our family always was." Catherine turned the page. "Now that you know the truth, I ask forgiveness for all the stolen years. I ask forgiveness for the tears you shed without understanding why. I ask forgiveness for the distance I was forced to keep. But I also ask one thing. Don't let the past steal your future. You are sisters, you are family. The blood running through your veins is the same. The love I feel for you is the same." Darlene looked at Catherine. "We lost 40 years being sisters. 40 years. But we still have the rest of our lives," Catherine replied, taking Darlene's hand. "If you want, of course." The letter continued. "Catherine, you have the means to give Darlene everything she deserves. But more important than money is love. Darlene was always generous even when she had little. Catherine was always strong, even when she was alone. Together you can be complete." Catherine folded the letter carefully. "Darlene, I want to make up for all these years. I want you to live in the mansion, not as a maid, but as my sister. I want to share everything I have with you." Darlene shook her head. "I don't want your pity, Catherine, and I don't want your money. It's not pity, it's justice, it's family." Catherine held Darlene's hands. "Darlene, I spent 40 years feeling empty, not knowing why. Now I know. It was because I was far from you." Darlene looked at her mother's grave. "Gloria always said that family is what matters, That no matter how far we are, we always find our way back to each other. She was referring to us, Catherine realized. Probably. They stayed silent for a few minutes, each processing the magnitude of the revelation. 40 years of life apart, 20 years working in the same house without knowing they were sisters? Catherine, can I ask you a question? Anything. Do you remember your first day at the Montgomery mansion? Catherine thought. Not really, I was very small, but I remember crying a lot. And I remember one of the cleaners gave me a candy and sang that song about the two little stars. Darlene smiled through her tears. It was our mother. She told me you cried for 3 days straight, and she managed to calm you down by singing. And the Montgomerys? They thought it was strange that a cleaner could calm you down when they couldn't, but it worked, so they let it be. Catherine started remembering more details. Gloria was always nearby when I got hurt, always knew exactly what I liked to eat, always took care of you like a mother, even if no one knew. Catherine turned to the grave. Gloria, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not recognizing you. I'm sorry for being so blind. She knows, Darlene said softly. She always knew that one day we would discover the truth. How can you be so sure? Darlene pointed to the headstone. Look at the date. She died exactly 1 week after you turned 40. I think she waited until she was sure you were strong enough to know the truth. Catherine looked at the date engraved in the marble. It was true. Gloria had passed away just 7 days after Catherine's birthday. She also left this for you, Darlene said, taking a small package from her purse. She asked me to give it to you when the time was right. Catherine opened the package carefully. Inside was a faded photo of 2 identical babies in the arms of a young woman who was clearly Gloria. This is the only photo she had of the 2 of us together, Darlene explained. She kept it all these years. Catherine held the photo to her chest. How did she manage to hide this from everyone? Mom was very clever. She had a box hidden under the bed where she kept everything related to you. Photos, newspaper clippings about your company, even graduation invitations she managed to get when she worked at the house. Graduation invitations. She never missed any important moment of your life, Catherine. She always found a way to be present, even if you didn't know it. Catherine remembered all the important moments of her life: high school graduation, college graduation, the day she opened her company, the awards she received. Gloria was always there, in the background, organizing, cleaning, making sure everything went smoothly. And you? Did she talk about me to you? Darlene sighed. Always. She said I had a very intelligent and successful sister, but she couldn't tell me who it was. She said that one day we would meet again. And did you believe it? I wanted to believe it. But as the years passed, I thought it was just her way of giving me hope. Catherine knelt again before the grave. Gloria, thank you. Thank you for never giving up on us. Thank you for finding a way to keep us together, even when it seemed impossible. Darlene knelt beside her sister. Thank you for all the sacrifices, Mom, for all the years you suffered in silence to protect us. They stayed there, side by side, for the first time in 40 years united before the woman who had raised them with so much love and pain. Darlene, I want you to know that, even without understanding why, I always felt something special for you, Catherine confessed. I always wanted to treat you better, but something held me back. It was fear, Darlene replied, unconscious fear of discovering the truth. Probably. The Montgomerys always said I shouldn't get too attached to the employees. And now, what are we going to do now? Catherine stood up and helped Darlene to her feet. Now we're going to be sisters. For real. We're going to make up for lost time. But what about your life, your company, your friendships? None of that matters if I don't have family. Catherine held Darlene's hands. Darlene, do you want to be my sister? Officially? Darlene smiled, the first time she had smiled since her mother's passing. I've always been your sister, Catherine. Now we just have to make it official. They hugged for the first time, and Catherine felt as if a part of herself that had been lost for 40 years had finally come home. Catherine, there's something I need to tell you, Darlene said when they separated. What is it? Gloria wasn't just our mother. She was also our greatest protector. All these years, she protected you from things you can't even imagine." "What do you mean?" Darlene hesitated. "Some of the older employees told me things. Your food was always prepared by her personally because she didn't trust anyone else. Your clothes were always checked by her before you wore them. Your cars were always inspected by her before you left. Why? Because the Montgomerys had enemies, and they weren't always honest in business. Gloria knew that if something happened to you, they could blame her or use it against our family." Catherine was shocked. "She protected me even though I didn't know it." "Always. And she also protected you emotionally. Remember when you started dating that boy in college, Bradley?" "I remember. He left me suddenly without explanation. Gloria discovered he was only interested in her money. She found a way to make him confess and give up on you." Catherine widened her eyes. "How?" "She knew his mother. She talked to the woman and showed proof that Bradley had other wealthy girlfriends at the same time. His mother forced him to break up with all of them." "And the job? When I started my company?" "Gloria insisted on cleaning your office personally. She saw all the documents, all the proposals. And when she noticed something strange, she found a way to warn you indirectly." Catherine began to remember several strange situations. Documents that disappeared and reappeared with notes in the margins. Contracts that suddenly had clauses highlighted in red. People who cancelled meetings mysteriously. It was her? Always her. Gloria barely knew how to read properly, but she knew how to recognize ill-intentioned people. And she protected you like a lioness protects her cub. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Catherine sat on the stone bench near the grave. "Darlene, I feel terrible. How could I be so blind? How could I treat badly the only person who truly loved me unconditionally? Because you didn't know, and because she didn't want you to know. She wanted you to be happy, even if that meant being away from her. But I was never completely happy. I always felt like something was missing." Darlene sat next to her sister. "Gloria was never completely happy either, but she said your partial happiness was worth all of her suffering. And you? How did you manage to live with me all these years, being treated like a servant when you're actually my sister?" Darlene thought for a moment. "At first it was difficult. I felt angry when you treated me poorly. But Gloria always told me to be patient, that one day I would understand. She said you weren't bad, just lost." "Lost?" "Yes. Lost from yourself, lost from the family, lost from true love. She said people raised without knowing where they came from always feel lost." Catherine reflected on those words. It was true. She had always felt out of place, even having everything money could buy. "Darlene, can I ask you one more personal question?" "Of course." "Do you have children?" Darlene shook her head. "I never could. I always wanted to, but it never happened." "Why? Health problems?" "No, relationship problems." Darlene sighed. "It's hard to trust someone when you see every day how the rich treat the poor. I was always afraid of being used." Catherine felt a pang of guilt. "I contributed to this difficulty of yours. A little. But it wasn't just you. It was the whole situation. Imagine, I worked for a wealthy family, where I saw every day how they looked down on people like me. How could I believe someone would truly love me? And now? Do you still want to have a family?" Darlene gave a sad laugh. "Catherine, I'm 40 years old. A bit late for that." "Not necessarily. And besides, now you have a family. You have a sister." Darlene smiled. "That's true, now I have a sister." They were silent for a few minutes, watching the flowers on Gloria's grave. The sun was getting stronger, and the cemetery was starting to get more visitors. "Catherine, can I ask you for something?" "Anything. Don't treat me differently all of a sudden. Don't give me money or expensive gifts as if that would solve 40 years of separation." Catherine looked surprised. "But I want to share everything with you. It's your right." My right is to have a sister who loves me. The rest, we'll build slowly. Catherine understood. Darlene was afraid that money would ruin the relationship they were starting to build. So, how do you want us to do this? First, I want to keep working. Not as your employee, but I want to have my independence. Second, I want us to truly get to know each other, as people, as sisters. And where do you want to live? Darlene thought. For now, I'll stay at Gloria's house. It's small, but it has many memories of her. I need some time to say goodbye. Catherine understood. And when you're ready? When I'm ready, maybe we can think about living near each other, as neighbors, as real sisters. Darlene, can I tell you something I've never told anyone? Of course. I always dreamed of having a sister. As a child, I made up stories about a twin sister who had been separated from me at birth. The Montgomerys said it was nonsense, but I never could stop dreaming about it. Darlene's eyes widened. Really? Always. And you? I always dreamed of having a rich sister who would one day find me and take me to live with her like a princess. They laughed together for the first time. Our dreams came true, just in a much more complicated way than we imagined, Catherine said. But they did come true, Darlene finished. At that moment, a man in a dark suit approached them. Sorry to bother you, are you Mrs. Gloria's daughters? The two looked at each other. It was the first time someone had called them Gloria's daughters together. Yes, Catherine replied. That's us. I'm Attorney Richard, Mrs. Gloria's lawyer. She asked me to find you two together after her passing. Darlene was confused. My mother had a lawyer. For many years, yes. She came to me when your sister Catherine turned 21. She wanted to make sure some things were clarified after her departure. Catherine stood up. What kind of things? First, she wanted you to know that she never spent the adoption money. All these years, she deposited it into a special account, which now belongs to both of you. How much? Darlene asked. With interest and investments, about $800,000. The two were shocked. But why did she never use that money? Catherine asked. She lived with such difficulty? Because she considered that money dirty blood, the lawyer explained. She said it was the price paid for the separation of two sisters, and that it would only be fair to use that money to bring them together again. Darlene began to cry. She went without all these years to save the money for us. Besides, the lawyer continued, she also saved money from her own work. She saved for 40 years. That's another $150,000. Catherine couldn't believe it. Gloria died rich and never said anything. She didn't consider herself rich. She considered herself just a temporary guardian of that money until you two found each other. The lawyer handed them a folder. Here are all the documents. Her house now belongs to both of you two, and there's one last thing. What? Darlene asked. She established a fund to help vulnerable mothers who need to choose between keeping their children or giving them up for adoption. The fund will operate as long as you two manage it together. Catherine was moved. She wanted to make sure other families wouldn't go through what we went through. Exactly. And there's one condition. The fund only works if you two work together on it. If one gives up, the money goes elsewhere. Darlene understood. She found a way to keep us together forever. Mrs. Gloria was a very wise woman, the lawyer said. She knew you would need a common purpose to build the sister relationship you were prevented from having. After the lawyer left, Catherine and Darlene were alone again. Darlene, will you agree to manage this fund with me? I will, but on one condition. What? That we do it not for the money, but for Gloria, to honor her memory. Agreed. They walked back toward the grave. The sun was high now, and other families were visiting their loved ones around them. Catherine, can I ask you something personal? Go ahead. Do you regret anything regarding me, any specific situation? Catherine thought. Several, but there's one that bothers me a lot. Which one? Remember when you asked for time off to take care of Gloria at the hospital 2 years ago? I remember. I denied the request. I'd said I couldn't spare you. Darlene remembered. It had been a difficult period. Gloria had severe pneumonia, and Darlene had begged to stay with her at the hospital for a few days. And you regret it? Very much. Now I know I was preventing a daughter from caring for her own mother. Our mother. Darlene held Catherine's hand. You didn't know. And in the end, I managed to stay with her anyway. How? Gloria told me to pretend I was sick too. Then you gave me medical leave, and I could stay at the hospital. Catherine gave a sad laugh. Even sick, she had to devise strategies to be with her daughter. She was clever and determined. Darlene, there are other things I want to ask your forgiveness for. You don't need to, Catherine. Yes, I do. All those years I complained about the food when it was you who cooked. All the times I criticized the cleaning when it was you who did it. All the times I treated you as if you were invisible. Darlene shook her head. Catherine, that's all in the past. What matters is what we do from here on out. Can you forgive me? I already have. Even before I knew we were sisters, I had forgiven you. Gloria taught me that holding on to anger only hurts the one who holds it. Catherine hugged Darlene again. I don't deserve a sister like you. Of course you do. Gloria wouldn't have raised a daughter who didn't deserve love. They sat on the ground, leaning against the headstone, as if they were visiting their mother in the living room. Darlene, what was Gloria like when you were alone? Affectionate, funny, wise. She told me stories every night. She cooked my favorite dishes on Sundays. She taught me to read, to write, to be a good person. And did she talk about the past? Sometimes. She said she had a very difficult time in her life, when she had to make impossible choices. She said her biggest regret wasn't the choices she made, but not being able to explain to the people she loved why she made those choices. Catherine understood. She was talking about giving us up for adoption without being able to explain the reason. Probably. And about the future? Did she have hope? Always. She said everything in life happens for a reason, and that one day we would understand why we went through everything we went through. She was right. Darlene agreed. She was usually right about everything. Darlene, can I tell you about my childhood? I want to hear. Catherine got more comfortable. The Montgomerys gave me everything money could buy, the best schools, the best clothes, the best opportunities, but they never gave me real affection. What do you mean? They treated me like a project, like something they were molding to be perfect. I had piano lessons, French lessons, etiquette lessons. But when I cried, they called the nanny. When I was sick, they called the doctor. They never hugged me, never comforted me personally. Darlene felt sorry for her sister. And you missed that? Very much. I always felt there was something wrong with me because I couldn't love them the way they wanted. Actually, there was nothing wrong with you. You were just away from your real family. Exactly. And the only person who showed me real affection was Gloria, they said together. She always found a way to give me a special treat, or tidy my room in a way that calmed me, or be around when I needed her most. She told me you were a very sensitive child, Darlene said, that you cried in secret when you thought no one was watching. It was true. I used to cry a lot, but only when I was alone. Gloria always knew. She always knew when you were sad. Catherine grew thoughtful. Darlene, if we had grown up together, what do you think our lives would have been like? Different, very different, Darlene reflected, very different. We probably would have been poorer financially, but richer emotionally. Do you regret it, not having had the life I had? Darlene shook her head. No. Gloria gave me something money can't buy. She taught me to be grateful, to be strong, to value people for their feelings, not their possessions. And I never learned that. Only now, at 40 years old, am I starting to understand. But you are learning, and that's what matters. Catherine looked up at the sky. Darlene, do you believe Gloria is watching us now? I do. And I bet she's happy. Why? Because finally her two daughters are together, talking like real sisters. At that moment, a gentle breeze rustled the flowers on the grave, as if Gloria was agreeing. Catherine, there's something I want to show you, Darlene said, standing up. What? Darlene led her to a nearby bench and took a small old notebook from her bag. This is Gloria's diary from the last 5 years. She kept a diary. She learned to write better after she turned 60. She said she wanted to record her thoughts about her daughters. Darlene opened the notebook to a marked page. Look at this date. It's from the day you turned 35. Catherine read, "Today my Catherine turned 35. She organized a big party at the company with lots of important people. I worked extra to help prepare everything. I saw her receiving congratulations from everyone, but I noticed she didn't seem truly happy. Her eyes were sad, like they always are on birthdays. I think she misses having a real family, even without knowing that family exists. One day, I will be able to hug her and say, 'Happy birthday, my daughter.'" One day, Catherine began to cry. She knew me better than I knew myself. Darlene turned a few pages. "And this one is from the day you broke up with that businessman boyfriend," Catherine read. "Catherine is suffering because of that awful man. I know he's no good because I heard him talking badly about her on the phone when he thought no one was around. He was telling someone he was only with her for her money. My daughter deserves someone who loves her for real, not for money. I will find a way for her to discover who he really is." It was Gloria who found out about him. Yes, she recorded a conversation of his on a cell phone and left the device on the living room table, right where you would pass by. Catherine remembered that day. She had found a cell phone ringing in the living room and upon answering heard her ex-boyfriend bad-mouthing her to another man. At the time, she thought it had been a coincidence. Once again, she protected me, without me knowing. Darlene continued flipping through. "And this is from last week, 3 days before she passed." Catherine read carefully. "I am very tired but happy. I got to see Catherine grow up and become a strong woman. I got to see Darlene become a good and generous woman. Now it is time for them to discover they are sisters. I have left all the necessary clues. Darlene will find the letter. Catherine will feel the need to come to my grave. And finally, my 2 little stars will meet in the sky of life. I can depart in peace." The 2 sisters fell silent, processing Gloria's farewell. "She planned all of this," Catherine murmured. "She was always a strategist. She had to be, to manage to protect you and raise me at the same time. Darlene, there's something I need to ask you, and I want you to be honest with me. Go ahead. Can you love me as a sister, after everything you've been through, after all the years I treated you poorly?" Darlene looked into Catherine's eyes. "Catherine, I have always loved you as a sister, even without knowing the reason. Even when you were difficult with me, I felt there was something special between us. What do you mean? Do you remember when I had pneumonia 5 years ago?" "I do." "When I was hospitalized, delirious with fever, I kept talking about a sister. Gloria said I repeated all the time, 'Where is my sister? She needs to know I'm sick.' Catherine was shocked. I didn't know. And you know the most interesting part? Around the same time you came looking for me at the hospital. You said you had felt the urge to visit me," Catherine remembered. "That's true, it was a strange thing. I was at the office and suddenly felt this overwhelming anguish, like something bad was happening to someone important to me." "Sisterly connection," Darlene smiled. "It was always there, even without us knowing." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. They walked back near Gloria's grave. The cemetery was busier now, but they felt in their own world. "Catherine, what do you want to do now? About work, about life, about everything?" Catherine thought. "I want to change a lot of things. First, I want you to be my partner in the company, not an employee. Catherine, I don't know anything about business, but you understand people, and that's the most important part of business that I never quite managed to learn." Darlene became thoughtful. "What if it doesn't work out? What if we fight?" "We won't fight. We're sisters. Real sisters fight and make up." Gloria always said that real family might fight, but they never give up on each other. "So, will you accept being my partner?" Darlene hesitated. "Can I think about it?" "Of course, there's no rush." "And what about the fund Gloria left? How will we manage it?" Catherine became animated. "I have some ideas. We can create a support center for single mothers, provide legal guidance, psychological support, temporary financial help. So they don't have to choose between keeping their children or giving them up for adoption," Darlene finished. "Exactly. And we can call it the Gloria Williams Foundation." Darlene smiled. She would have liked that. There was one more thing I wanted to propose to you, Catherine said, a bit nervous. What? How about we renovate Gloria's house? Not to change its essence, but to make it more comfortable. And how about if I built a house next door so we could live near each other? Darlene was moved. You would do that? I would. I want to make up for lost time. I want to be a real sister. And your friends? Your social life? What will they think? Catherine laughed. Darlene, what friends? My social life is just work and empty engagements. For the first time in my life, I have a real reason to stay home. A family. A real family. They watched the people around them. Several families were visiting graves, some crying, some talking quietly, others just standing in silence. Catherine, do you think Gloria suffered a lot all these years? I think so. But I also think she found ways to be happy, like watching you grow up, like taking care of me indirectly, like knowing her 2 daughters were okay. She always said any suffering was worth it if it was to protect the people we love. And she was right. Look at us now. We're here together because of all the sacrifices she made. Darlene stood up and placed fresh flowers on the grave. Gloria, thank you for never giving up on us. Thank you for finding a way to keep us connected, even when we were apart. Catherine stood up too. Thank you for being a mother to both of us, even when you could only officially be a mother to one. And thank you for teaching us that family isn't just blood, it's love, dedication, and sacrifice, they said together. A tear fell on the marble of the headstone, but this time it wasn't a tear of sadness. It was a tear of gratitude. Darlene, can I tell you about a dream I had last week? Go ahead. I dreamed of a woman I didn't know, but who felt familiar. She was cooking and humming that song about 2 little stars. When I woke up, I spent the whole day thinking about it. That was Gloria. She was preparing to leave, but she wanted you to remember her. And it worked. It was because of that dream that I felt like visiting her grave today. Darlene smiled. Gloria always found a way to get things done, even after passing. They began walking slowly through the cemetery, still talking. Catherine, can I ask you about your relationships? You never married. I never found someone who truly loved me. I always felt people were interested in my money, not me. And now, do you still want to find someone? I do. But now I have a stronger emotional foundation. I have a sister. I have family. That gives me the security to open myself to love. Gloria always said that when we love ourselves, we can love others too. She was right. I never fully loved myself because I always felt like something was missing in me. And now you know what it was. It was you. It was family. It was belonging. They stopped in front of the cemetery gate. Catherine, what do we do now? How do we start our lives over as sisters? Catherine thought. How about we start slowly? Dinner together once a week, phone calls, getting to know each other for real. Sounds perfect. And how about starting today? Will you have lunch with me? Darlene hesitated. I don't know. It'll be strange. Why? Because all these years you never even invited me for coffee. Catherine laughed. Darlene, all these years I didn't know you were my sister. Now I do. Everything has changed. That's true. So do you accept? I do. But let's go somewhere simple. I don't want to feel out of place. I know the perfect place. A diner Gloria took me to once when I was little. Darlene was surprised. Gloria took you out to eat? Once. I was about 8 and very sad because the Montgomerys had traveled and left me alone with the nanny. Gloria said she would take me somewhere special. And where did she take you? To a simple diner near the house. She ordered a sandwich and juice for me and watched me eat. Said I reminded her of someone very special to her. Darlene began to cry. She was missing her daughter through you. And I felt more loved in those 30 minutes than in entire months at the mansion. Shall we go to that diner? Let's, if it still exists. They left the cemetery holding hands, for the first time in 40 years, walking together as sisters. On the way, Catherine stopped at a flower shop. "What are we doing here?" Darlene asked. "Buying flowers to bring to Gloria every week. The two of us together." "What kind of flowers did she like?" "Daisies. I always saw her taking such tender care of the daisies in the garden." Darlene smiled. They were indeed her favorite flowers. She said daisies were simple but resilient flowers. Like her, they bought a beautiful arrangement of white daisies and returned to the grave for one last goodbye that day. "Gloria," Catherine said, placing the flowers, "today we discovered we are sisters, but more importantly, we discovered you never abandoned us. And we promise we'll honor your memory by being the family you always dreamed we would be," Darlene finished. "And we'll help other mothers not go through what you went through," they said together. When they left the cemetery for the second time, the sun was beginning to set. But for Catherine and Darlene, a new day was beginning. At the diner, they sat in the same spot where Catherine had sat 40 years earlier with Gloria. "Darlene, can I make you a promise?" "Go ahead." "I promise I'll spend the rest of my life making up for all the years we lost. I'll be the best sister you could ever imagine." Darlene held Catherine's hand across the table. "And I promise I'll love you as a sister, even on the difficult days, because Gloria taught us that real family never gives up." "Real family never gives up," Catherine repeated. They toasted with soda, sealing the sisterhood pact that had been interrupted 40 years earlier, but would now be eternal. 3 months later, the Gloria Williams Foundation was fully operational. Catherine had sold part of her company to fund the project, and Darlene had become the center's coordinator. Together, they had already helped dozens of vulnerable mothers keep their families together. And every Wednesday, without fail, they visited Gloria's grave to share the news. "I think she's proud of us," Darlene said during one of these visits. "I'm sure she is," Catherine agreed. "And I think she's at peace." Finally at peace. Her two little stars are together in the sky of life, just as she always dreamed. They embraced before the grave, two sisters whom fate had separated, but a mother's love managed to reunite. End of story. So, what did you think of this family love story? Did you cry along with Catherine and Darlene? Tell us in the comments which part moved you the most, and if you know any similar stories in your family. Leave your like if the story touched your heart, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other stories that speak directly to the soul. Your company here means so much to us.